Now that you've made your class active and you can begin working in there, one of the first things we'll do is we'll go ahead and set up our gradebook. We want to go to Assess and Grades. And then when we land over here, we'll see that there is no gradebook. That's the default. So we want to add a gradebook. So we're going to click and open, and we want the gradebook to be specifically related to the class name. So you will need a gradebook for the entire year. So even if you have a 2-semester class, you're still going to have one gradebook. So you can say, if it is 1 semester, you can specify which semester it is, or you can just specify that it's which class it is and what the school year is. You'll want to use gradebook categories. You'll want to round to 1 decimal point and leave the display subtotal set at % and grade. Leave the gradebook entry sorting at the default, and you always leave the official grading scale and the official special score notation, which has 4 included in there. OK, which is going to essentially allow someone to assess out of something and give them 100% credit for it. Perhaps they started the year a couple of weeks in and you know that they've already completed some of the work, so you want to give them credit for that even though they didn't complete that work with you. AU, which is audit. Now audit basically ignores it, and this is for our students who select the audit option, which you can read more about in the faculty handbook. We also have EX for excused, if there's a reason why they are being allowed to not complete that particular assignment, and that also ignores it in the averaging. And then we have WD, which is withdrawn, and this is for a student who's withdrawn from the class, and it will ignore that in their calculations for the rest of the semester. So you will have to put each of these in for each individual gradebook item if you choose to use those. Alright, so now let's set up the categories. We want category weighting. For category 1, I'm going to call this one my daily assignments, and I want this one to be set at 60% of the final grade. Remember that your categories may vary depending on your grade level, your subject, and your department, so make sure that you've checked with your department chair if you aren't sure what your category should be. We're going to say we want our tests to be equal to 30%, and maybe we want to add one more category and call this one attendance. Now keep in mind that we do not require students to attend class, but we can require that they either attend or watch the recording, and we can track that. So again, this is something you can ask your department chair about if you have questions about how to do that. There will also be additional recordings later on. We're going to say next. We want to make sure that total is 100%, and we now have a gradebook set up. So a couple of things to know about the gradebook is the students will not be able to see anything in the gradebook unless this information is published. But before we do that, let's add a class schedule. So we are going to choose a class schedule. Okay, so we're going to choose a schedule. Please keep in mind that when you go in to choose one, there will actually be one available that you will need to select from, either fall or spring or full year. So we're actually just going to go ahead and pick the one that's available here, even though that will not be the options whenever you do yours. And then we're going to save. And this helps to keep things chronologically in order. Alright, so now we're going to save. And we now have a class schedule assigned, so we can see that right up here. So we actually now have a new tab there as well. So I want to make sure, I'm going to pull this up just a little bit, that you know that each of these items is going to have to be published for students to be able to see them. So you want to make sure that the subtotal is published. You want to make sure that any gradebook entry, let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to do just a quick assignment. So that you can see what it looks like in the gradebook. So we have a demo assignment here and it's gray, so it is not published. For students to be able to see those grades in their gradebook, you must publish that. And then it goes to orange. And then we also need to publish the term summary on the term summary tab. Both of these need to be published. So you're going to have a couple of things to make sure to keep up with in the gradebook so that you don't have students come back and say, I can't see any of my grades.